Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast today. I'm your host, Ajoe21love. Uh, Here with Sports OV Topics, episode number 60. Uh, Forgive me all if I don't seem very excited today. I'm just not feeling greatly today, but I will be delivering the podcast today. Uh, but here on episode number 60, I'll be going over Josh Allen's big extension he got from the Bills. Um, NBA free agency started last week, and I'll be going over some of the big name new moves that went on free agency. Also, discussing the fallout of UFC 265, which was Saturday night. But thank you for joining me today. If you like this video, click the like button over there as well as the subscribe for all your notifications and looking part of the videos on the channel today. So, yeah. So, first, Josh Allen's extension. So it was inevitable, I'll say. Um, you know, if it wasn't for Aaron Rodgers having his year last year, could have said that Josh Allen was the MVP, and he still got some votes uh, for the MVP voting. But 6 years, 258 million. Uh, we know his progression throughout the years and his last few years in the league. You know, his rookie year, he had obvious, or his first 2 years, he had some accuracy issues, but you could tell the arm strength and the arm and the mobility was there. His first 2 years in the league, and then last year he put it all together to form a phenomenal year. Obviously, they fell short against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, but still a phenomenal year for Josh Allen, and thus is rewarded with this big extension for the next 6 years. 43 million per year, averaging. Um, so, well deserved extension for Josh Allen. Obviously, now with Juan Domino out of the way, it raised the question for Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson, who the next two biggest names as far as quarterbacks go from that draft first round out of those five quarterbacks that were taken, along with Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen. But will be interesting because now that Allen has his extension, there's talk that Baker Mayfield may take a team friendly deal. I mean, it would make sense because Sometimes you want to pay him, but at the same time, you have all that talent on the offensive side, and you want to try to keep it all together. They have the best O line, a good group of receivers, as well as that two-headed monster at running back. Lamar Jackson, the way his deal is going to get done, will be very meticulous in it being he doesn't have an agent. It's mainly him and his mom that are negotiating his deals. So will be interesting to see how, because if Lamar Jackson gets a better deal than Josh Allen, it's not going to be a good look for agents in the league. And I don't expect Baker Mayfield to make more than Josh Allen either. So be very interesting to see how the domino effect plays a part in the rest of negotiations for the other two. So pivoting from that to now NBA free agency. So last week, NBA free agency started. So throughout free agency, there was mainly three teams that were the most busy in free agency last week, and that was the Chicago Bulls, the Miami Heat, and Los Angeles Lakers. Now, for starters, the Bulls, who, in my and many opinion, probably won free agency, they acquired Lonzo Ball from the Pelicans. They acquired, DeMar DeRozan from the Spurs, as well as Alex Caruso. So, big defense of help and just very much help as far as the bigs and scoring is concerned. Because now they have Levine, Vucevic, DeRozan, and Lonzo. So, and Lonzo is only like 22, 23, years old. So, good for them. And for a team that has not been to the playoffs in say 5 years? 5 years for Chicago Bulls. Well, perhaps they're on the way back to being a playoff team under Billy Donovan, head coach in the East. They could very much be a 4 or 5 seed to me looking at these moves. Now we go to the Miami Heat. So Miami Heat made some solid moves as well in free agency. They acquired new NBA champion PJ Tucker, uh, who obviously just won the NBA championship with the Milwaukee Bucks. Now he's with the Heat, and it's good for them. They get defense, and yes, he's 36, but he can still play well. He's still almost a size guy in the league, where he doesn't score a lot, but he still gets the job done. They also got Kyle Lowry, who was obviously with the Raptors for the last few years. and won a title with them a couple years ago, but now they acquired him to help with scoring on the offense and ease the workload of Jimmy Butler. Um, so that's good, solid pickup for the Heat, as well as re-signing Victor Oladipo, who obviously they traded for last season, but he wasn't really healthy all season. Now they re-signed him to a one-year deal, prove a deal, and assuming he's healthy, the Heat should have an uplift and production on the offense side. And then last but not least, as far as the teams that were most busy in free agency, the Los Angeles Lakers. So the Los Angeles Lakers made quite a bit of moves in free agency. Um, they re-signed Dwight Howard, who is obviously with the 76ers last season. Um, Obviously, he won title with the Lakers in the bubble. Um, he's still a big guy. He can still get some defense. He can still be a really good bench player. He's not a star like he used to be, or can get the protection that he used to, but he can still be a really good bench player. And I think they missed him quite a bit last season. So then they also, obviously, previously they traded for Russell Westbrook. So again, more scoring, and obviously he broke some records last season. Um, so he'll help primarily, I assume, in the regular season, uh, posturing minutes for the rest of the team as he can score and help ease the workload for many players, LeBron, Anthony Davis, and then once they get into playoff time, then more of the team will be rested. They also acquired Carmelo Anthony. Now, yes, he's up there in age, but he was still productive for the Trailblazers the last few seasons. Um, he can score out the blue near 30 points. So, as he showed the Trailblazers, but then again, sometimes he's not consistent and he's not the player he used to be, but he can still be productive um, for them, assuming all goes well. Um, so those were three big moves for the Lakers. Look, judging from the age of the team, obviously they've gotten older, and these players that they've acquired are probably not in their prime anymore, and they're up there in age. But they can still be productive provided they stay healthy. And LeBron is not the huge scorer that he once was, and Anthony Davis obviously has health issues, so we'll see on that. But it remains to be seen for the Lakers. Now, The Suns, they resigned Chris Paul. I think that was still a good move, providing what he did for the Suns last season. Yes, he was hot and cold in the finals, but you can't discount what he brought to that team last year. Reward with a nice extension and the Clippers re-signed Kawhi Leonard and Reggie Jackson. Two very good veterans, obviously. Last year, we know that Kawhi is going on surgery and see how his timetable for return for this year is concerned. But good for the Clippers. Okay. Also, Steph Curry got his extension. I think we all knew that was happening. Um, the yeah, they also re-signed Iguodala, so see what he can provide. All right, so now the follow-up of UFC 265. So UFC 265 was last Saturday, um, headlined by Derek Lewis versus Cyril Gane for the interim heavyweight title um, in Houston. I mean, this what well, I'll get to that fight in a sec, but first on the card, well, wasn't first on the card, but just third to last fight in the card, Vicente Luque versus Michael Maverick Chiesa. Now, Luque has been on a roll, as we know. Um, last guy's biggest win of his career over Tyron Woodley, basically retiring him from the UFC. Um, his last fight. Now this fight, he draws Chiesa, who's in the top 10, uh, undefeated at welterweight. How would he? Interesting style matchup in for this card, and Chiesa rebounded, um, or I'm sorry, Luque. He rebounded. He looked like he was gonna get choked out by Chiesa, but then slipped out of it, got the offense, and then choked out Chiesa with a Darce choke in the first round. So big win for Luque. Chiesa's first loss at 170. Luque continues to climb up the ranks at welterweight, defeating the number 8 ranked Chiesa. Now, he called out Usman for a title fight after. Um, I think it's a bit soon because Chiesa was at number 8. So I think Luque probably should fight someone in the top 5 first and then fight, assuming he gets past that, fight the winner of Usman versus Colby 2. But yeah, on a roll, Vicente Luque. So then we get to the co-main event, Jose Aldo versus Pedro Munoz. Jose Aldo, um, he was basically top guy coming in of what featherweight. um, from the WEC, then coming into the UFC. He was dominating for years, and then Conor McGregor comes and shuts out his light in 13 seconds, and then he fought a couple times again at featherweights. Now since it's dropped down to bantamweight at 135, it's been up in the road, but it's still been good for Aldo, and he looked very good in this fight against Munoz. Munoz, we know, has power. You can go see him get that slugfest over Cody Garbrandt. Got the better of it. Munoz. But this was Aldo's fight. He took control of it, landed some good shots, basically picked apart, um, and got the better of Munoz. Got a unanimous decision. Uh, Afterwards, he called out TJ Dillashaw, who just won a spectacular fight versus Corey Sandhagen. Um, that would be an interesting fight, but I'm not sure if Dillashaw, because Sandhagen was number 2 and he was looking to get a title shot, but with, I believe it's at the end of October that Peter Yan and Sterling will have the rematch, so we'll have to see on that. But I would like to see that fight between Dillashaw and Aldo. There are two veterans who've been around the sport for a long time. Then we get to the main event. Excuse me. So, Derek Lewis versus Cyril Gane. Um, Cyril Gane coming off, obviously, the biggest win of his career against Volkov, winning a stunning decision. Coming his fight 9-0, he was a surprising favorite in this fight against Derek Lewis. We know Derek Lewis coming off a 4-fight win streak, um, a dominating KO of Curse Blades. This fight in Houston, how is it going to play out? Gane, he's still relatively young in his MMA and UFC career. Only 9 fights in. Lewis, we know he has the power, but this was about Cyril Gane. If anything, I'm not really surprised by the outcome. I'm surprised at how just dominant the outcome was when I read it. But Cyril Gane had, so when it comes to, I'm trying to click something off my screen. Okay, there we go. But as far as significant strikes go, it was 98 to 16. 98 to 16 as far as significant strikes for Cyril Gane. And just surprising. We know the style of both guys. We know Lewis, he has that power that is intimidating, but I guess he hasn't really evolved in a way. You know, he does throw kicks sometimes, but ultimately he's looking for that power strike. That's his bread and butter. Whereas Gane, he's more of a striker, kickboxer. He lands things in meticulous fashion. You know, he dropped Lewis quite a couple times and he dinged him. You know, he landed beautiful uppercut, which dropped Lewis earlier in the fight, and then he landed some nice elbows to Lewis. Landed a couple leg kicks, bod kicks. Um, I read that Gane hit Lewis in the eye in the first round. I didn't see it, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was kind of how what was hindering Lewis's production throughout the rest of the fight. But Gane ultimately hurt Lewis, dropped him in the third round, and then wound up with strikes and ultimately finished Derek Lewis. And Cyril Gane is 10-0 and the interim UFC heavyweight champion. One for France. Um, surprising, I'm to say, but good news, but good production for Gane. Obviously, a massive victory. Um, where he goes next, it's very strange with the UFC heavyweight division at the top because Gane just won the interim title, so you figure he's going to go for the undisputed strap against Ngannou, in which I didn't hear anything about Ngannou being hurt. I don't think anyone did, but with also the news of perhaps, now it's not confirmed, but Stipe versus John Jones perhaps happening next year. That kind of ties things up because I know if you're the UFC, you probably want to see John Jones versus Francis. That's a very interesting fight, but at the same time, Francis versus Gane is a heck of a fight as well. So we'll see. As far as Derek Lewis, I mean, it's a gut wrenching loss. You know, losing in Houston after a coming off a 4-fight win streak and second time at UFC title. Um, it's just gut wrenching, but I don't think he drops too much from it. I think he's still in the thick of things as far as heavyweight. He's just gonna have to pick himself back up. Um, yeah, at least another win under his belt, and perhaps he's back for a title shot um, somewhere either next year or uh, depending on the thick of things, either next year or 2023. But Lewis doesn't fall too far from it. Um, but so I know that's all I have for today. A little surprised I was able to muster up a half hour on this episode, but thank you for those listening. And again, sorry for today, but uh, still hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Um, and if you did, click that like as well as the subscribe. Would appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I'll be back Thursday with the AEW Dynamite review, and then Saturday I'll be back with AEW Rampage review. But thank you. Be safe. Peace.